Leon Block. Like, subscribe, and share. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. Get your boots on the ground and fight. The Leon Block. Stand up. And recognize your purpose. The Leon Block. Free your mind. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. Get your boots on the ground and fight. Beat the rich. The Leon Block. The system cannot sustain. Feed your brain. Feed your brain. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. The Leon Block.
Greetings and good vibes, everybody. It's Thursday. It's 7:15. This is Freedom for All with your girl Meg and my guy John Tell. Thank you for joining us this evening. How are you doing?
Greetings and good vibes, everybody. I'm doing all right. I can't complain. I'm living, I'm breathing, and here to amplify another testimony. So thank you for having me, Meg. You already know. Let's do it.
Yes, of course. I'm joined by Jimmy Hill. His son, Jimmy Atchison, was murdered by police in Atlanta. Like the situation. Mr. Hill, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So I'm an investigative reporter, and I'm here to expose the hard truths that officials work tirelessly from us. It's time to shed light and provide a way for citizens to take their lives back. We demand freedom for all. We cover cases like police officer-involved shootings, cases of police brutality and misconduct, and so also resources to provide you with tools to listen and watch us on the daily. Search the Leon Block Independent Media or just search Freedom for All. It's all about building and sharing knowledge, y'all. We must empower, connect, build community, show unity. We're on the path to liberate so we may educate, because to guide, we must educate. We welcome everybody and you on the details on individuals that are fighting for freedom and social injustices around the world. Know that at the Leon Block, that is one of our sole purposes, to shed light into a dark world that others feel too uncomfortable to talk about. We're here to get our realm of armors. If we don't know better, we can't do better. If we aren't in the know, then we can't change appropriately.
That's right.
We must be clear and understand what the fundamental root. So let's jump right into it. Jimmy, how are you doing this evening? And thank you so much again for joining us.
Like I said, thank you for having me so much.
I'm not sure. I think Meg might have a bit of connection issues. Mr. Hill, are you hearing her clearly or no?
Am I wet now?
Are you having any issues hearing Meg?
Can you
Having any issues?
Are you having any issues hearing Meg?
I can't hardly hear you. It's like you're going in and out.
Yeah, it looks like we might have some connection issues here. Just bear with me one moment.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going.
Okay, is that better? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you good. How about myself? Can you hear me okay?
Okay, I can hear you okay.
Awesome. Can you hear Meg okay?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear now.
We got to love the internet, everybody. I'm telling you.
Hey, technical difficulties. It's 2022,
Awesome.
and the new TV is the new internet. Look, we're gonna have some bumps in the road, but this information and this and the things we talk about here on the Leon Block is still important. So we roll with the punches. It is what it is. Let's start this over again, Meg. Let's take this back from the top, shall we?
What?
Okay.
Yes. Sounds good.
You want me to start, or you want to ask me something first?
Yep. If you want to just go ahead and state your name again. I apologize for the internet difficulties, everybody.
Okay. Well, on January 22nd, 2019, my son Jim Atchison was unarmed and surrendered, and yet he was shot and killed by former Allen police officer on Kim on assumption of a bogus armed robbery warrant, in which the witness came forward after being interviewed numerous amount of times and stated that there was no going on armed robbery. And though the investigative report from the Fulton County District Attorney Office, from the Public Integrity Unit of the Fulton County District Attorney Office, which investigated this case, stated that the shooting of my son, Jimmy Atchison, on January 22nd, 2019 by Son was not justified, and that Son Kim should be charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, and violation of oath. But in the process of this going on, this case was getting ready to be presented to a grand jury, the COVID-19 came into play. And our grand jury hearing was stayed. Yet when grand jury hearing resumed, this case was a top priority case to be presented to the grand jury. Yet also, it was also election time too now. And it was a new DA in town. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis won the election. Fannie Willis, who speaks that she's pro-police and who continue to support police in their wrongdoings. And even though, she's chasing after Trump, and she's chasing after rappers, going through with a fine tooth comb through rapper lyrics. Yeah, January 22nd will be 4 years since the death of my son, Jimmy Atchison. And all we heard were excuses.
So I want to run it back to the beginning. So he was sought after essentially by what I'm guessing is like the equivalent of a SWAT team in the Atlanta area, correct? And this was off of a bogus. This was like off of a bogus assumption that he had committed an armed robbery, correct?
Yes, and it was like that because Atlanta police failure to properly investigate the warrant, and because they sloppiness and carelessness, and laziness, that also played a part in my son Jim Atchison's death because they were supposed to go back, according to the papers, the statement they would to go back and do a second interview with the young lady Kelly Brogan, who was accused, and Lynn McFasher, who stated that there was no going on robbery, but Atlanta police refused to do it, and so lies were told from Sean Kim, who he was a 26-year veteran. He was in charge of the federal task force. And what we were trying to figure out, we knew my son didn't carry a gun. So what was the use of a task force being involved? We knew my son. He didn't like to never go to the studio. I'm not going to say he was an angel, but he loved to go to the studio and he stayed away from trouble.
Right.
But this officer, Sean Kim, he who was in charge of the task force, the 26-year veteran, who had a history of disobeying orders. He lied on my son Jim Atchison.
So I know that it was clear that from what I saw, or at least read, that the witness, the one whose closet he was in, had said that he did not have a gun, that he was just in her closet, correct? Like there was no reason for this Officer Kim to shoot him, and he was complying. He had his hands, he was reaching to put his hands up. So
yes,
even from that, like,
okay, go ahead.
No, was this so? This officer has not been charged, correct?
No, he's not been charged. He's doing surveillance work for the federal government. And we don't have numerous amount of press conferences, and we don't have numerous amount of peaceful rallies and peaceful protests. And myself, along with his aunt, Tammy Featherstone, we've been out here fighting, and we've been having advocates and activists who help along the way, with other family support also, and a few friends, because we have yet to receive any type of support from these organizations, from Black leadership, Black pastors, but one, that's the NAACP, and a couple of small organizations. So Sean Kim, he lied. He lied, stating that my son had a history of violence against police officers. Remember, he was in charge of the task force. He lied, stating my son had a history of violence against police officers. And according to the Public Integrity Unit of the Fulton County District Attorney Office, which investigated this case, my son had one misdemeanor. It was a misdemeanor, and said the accused was not harmed in any type of way. Other than that, they said my son Jimmy Atchison had no other arrest in dealing with police officers. So he lied. He lied about that. He refused to call SWAT, which was the operational plan. In front of Bearberg at the briefing, that he was supposed to call SWAT in case the subject became barricaded. It was an open door closet. It was a very small closet where my son was just leaning back. It was so small, and it had a piece of sweater clothing on top of him. Right. Surrounded by 4 officers. He was surrounded by 4 officers with weapons drawn, not tasers. And he was told, Sean Kim demanded him to come out with his hands up. And when he raised his hand to comply with Sean Kim's demand, he shot him below the eye. It was a kill shot, blowing out his brains. One shot, no other officer shot, but he said he feared for his life, but then not out of all 4 officers, he was the only one shot one time. No other officer shot, but he said his life was in danger. And we know damn well his life was not in danger. You swear now?
Definitely.
I said
not.
we know damn well his life was not in danger.
That's right. Why didn't other officer shoot if his officer was in danger? Why did nobody else shoot? And they were like 3-4 feet from me. They were all in the room together, right next to each other. No other officer shot because
That's
they felt
what
there was no need to shoot.
Right. So it wasn't just Officer Kim in that room alone with him. There were other officers that he shot on his own.
Yeah, and I let me see, I don't have the name, but the other 3 officers that were in the room with him, one officer stated that he raised it. They started so inconsistent to each other. One officer stated that he raised his right hand. Another officer stated that he raised his right hand as in the form of a gun. And another officer stated that he had both his hands together, raising them up like in the form of a gun.
Right. All of which I believe
like in submissive.
Right. Is Officer Kim still working?
He's doing surveillance work for the federal government. Former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Bottoms allowed him to resign, and after much pressure because my son was murdered 8 days before the Super Bowl. That was here in Atlanta, and they wanted to sweep it on the rug because they wanted Atlanta to be known as a beautiful city without spot or wrinkle.
Well,
so
see,
they pushed hard to keep it on the road.
All the investments that's been made when we talk about like entertainment in Atlanta lately, that all is making sense to me now why this didn't get national attention. And then you talk about Mayor Keisha Bottoms or former mayor or whatever, sweeping this under the rug. That makes perfect sense. And then allowing this cop to resign. Wow, allowing him to resign. And now he works in surveillance for the government. Is that correct?
Working surveillance for the federal government today.
Y'all hear this, people?
Wow. And that is how they get, and with these conduct, databases is because they resign and they get transferred out of jurisdiction and it's just swept underneath the rug. Not anymore. Mm-hmm. We are here to change that this evening. And what's your favorite memory of your son, Mr. Hill?
You said what now?
What's your favorite memory of Jimmy?
To do that.
He like to beat on the wall. He loved to rap. He had a talent and a gift out of this world that he didn't get a chance to bless society with because of this murder. He loved this. He loved his family. He loved being with his 2 children, little Skylar and little Jayla, man. He was the type of person you could be mad at in 1 minute, but you'd be laughing and hugging him the next minute. He wasn't a violent person. He just liked to live life. He just liked to have fun. And he was when the children, he was starting to grow into the form of a man. He would stop put away childish things, and he was starting to learn and accept the responsibility of being a father, the importance of being a father.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice all the different photos of him with his kids. That was very warming, and to see the bright smile on his face in so many photos, he had an amazing smile.
Yeah, I show him because he always called me Big Jimmy. Because we always do a little John. He always called me Big Jimmy. His kids miss him so much, and his son, little Jalen. He got my son was murdered. Little Jalen started walking. I think about 3 months after my son was murdered, and that's the most precious thing in the world when you be able to see them children take them first steps, steps and walking. And he didn't get a chance to see him. And so his sister showed a lot of support. His family on his mother's side, they showed a lot of support in taking care of his daughter, little Skylar.
It sounds like a classic misconduct case. Talk about him and his mom, if you will.
Well, she loved him. Let me put it like this: his grandmother, his mom, we laid his mother to rest May the 19th of this year. She was laid to rest because of a broken heart, suffering, and depression. And it played a factor in her decline in health.
Mr.
Hill, his grandmother.
Mr. Hill, 1 second. That's eerie that you say that because a few days ago, we had the mother of Fred Cox, who was murdered, 18-year-old man, boy, who was murdered in High Point, North Carolina, last year. And his father, months after, dealing from a broken heart, died of a stroke, after his son passing away. It's just crazy that people don't realize that a broken heart really does make a big difference in one's life. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you were speaking about his grandmother.
Yeah, well, his grandmother, that was his angel, and that was her angel. His grandmother, that's Anne Elizabeth Atchison. She passed away. She passed away 2 years ago after suffering, and she never could come to the fact that he was really gone. And she wanted, and she specifically told me that Aunt Tammy, y'all get justice for my boy, and she was heartbroken. So that one bullet, it just people don't understand what it does to the family. We had several of his sisters didn't want to go to protest. It took some of them 2 years to start coming out, and it took them, and it just, that one shot by Son Kim, it destroyed his grandmother, and his uncle just about 8-9 months ago, and now about a year ago, and now his mother, and all. See, he come from a very close family on his mother's side. They were very, very close, and it did a lot of damage, from his grandmama to his uncle, to his mother, and to his sisters, and all his sisters, and even to my son on my side, and his sisters on my side of the family. So police brutality is a detriment to society, and the time for accountability, the time for these shooters to be punished, because they don't understand what it does to the family and the community, the mental health part of it.
100%.
One of our
and how
other
are you holding up?
co-hosts. Go ahead, Meg.
Oh, I was just holding up, like if there was any, support or anything that we could specifically help him with. Like, it's just so heartbreaking that these families aren't offered, any layers of support after police officer involved shootings. I've learned that, working with families here in Pennsylvania, a way that we can, help you either add it or call for resignation of the DA, like any way that we can help you whatsoever, please don't hesitate to, let us know, and we'll bring whatever resources we have available.
Yes, it's we sometimes we send out a call to action flyer. We pass it out, man, and a lot of other people who help us along the way. And but she changed for the County District Attorney Fannie Willis. She had the calls because she was getting so many calls about this, and just so she transferred the number to another. It goes somewhere else. It don't go directly to our office. You have to go through a lot to reach out and touch her. She's very arrogant, mm-hmm. and it's like she continued the trend, very proud, but continue the trend of former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Bottom. And not to get out of settle, but we went through a lot with Keisha Bottom, because Atlanta Mayor Keisha Bottom, she's the one from the beginning that placed a dark cloud over this case from the very first beginning. It took her 2 months to come and offer condolences to our family after much pressure from the community. 2 months. Hold on now, what you hit it a day before a town hall meeting that was scheduled for Cascade Methodist Church, in which she knew we were coming, but we were coming on a peaceful protest, and she had over 60 officers waiting to escort us out the church and out the property. So she's placed a lot of obstacles and hurdles in our way. Her association with the news was suppressed, because associated with black entertainment and a black council. It's like we've been out on the island by ourselves, fighting for just accountability and justice for ourselves.
How does now with that last part that you said, how does that make you feel? Because I see so many different families, but I don't see enough people standing behind all these families until it happens to them. what would you like to see for help when it comes to your family on this note?
Well, like people, we never in a million years thought that this would come to our doorstep. We never thought this. And the thing of it is, it's like I'm out there with sometimes 13, 14 families here in Georgia. A lot of times we come together. My sister-in-law has started this group called Georgia Moms United, and Tammy Featherstone, and that's why I said we always continue to be there and help fight. We've been fighting together in this struggle to get justice, and so we really need support. We need help. Like I say, the black pastors, they remain in silence. Black leadership, no help from nobody but the NAACP. Several small groups, several small activist groups, and several activists and advocates, and besides friends, and that's it. We can't. And we've had peaceful rallies, peaceful protests. But people refuse to. We have more people from out of town that come and support us more than here. We are the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King, creator of the Civil Rights Movement, known as the Black Milk. And we've had people like from Families United, the Aunt Bianca Austin, the Aunt Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, the father of Jacob Blake, Cortez Rice, the father of Amar Rice, and so Amar Rice. So it's like we've had a lot of people from out of town support us and help us more than the people in town. I don't know what it is.
Well, see, there's a reason behind that, and it's important that people hear that. We in America have what's called news deserts, especially in the South, especially in Black areas, especially in poor Black areas, and that's why independent media is so important. It's why the Cortez Rices and the Leon Blocks are so important, because without it, this wouldn't be amplified. And even when it is amplified, mainstream media will whitewash the hell out of something. And then on top of it, they may only take 30 seconds of what is being said. And therefore, how can you fully understand what is going on? On top of that, mainstream media will criminalize an individual, especially if they happen to be a Black man. Here, we're not going to do that. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We shed light on issues as they are. And with this situation here, and I want to bring up really quick, because on that note, it's why we exist as independent media, to bring to you the full scope of information as much as possible, y'all. And I believe this was the incident that you were referring to, Mr. Hill, where this is from YouTube. It says Jimmy Atchison protesters disrupt Mayor Bottom's town hall meeting at Cascade United Methodist Church in Southwest Atlanta, demanding justice in the killing of Jimmy Atchison by Atlanta police officers. Listen to hear what is being said here.
Yeah.
This was it? By your people.
What do we want? What do we want now? What do we want? What do we want now?
And I want to point out, all skin folk and kinfolk, she's all for the camera, smoke, and mirrors. There are a lot of politicians just like her. I will point out Mayor Bowser in DC is just like her. Yeah, they do a lot of great things, but then at the same time, what is actually changing? Why can't you hold your people that work for you essentially accountable to what is done to what is supposed to be your people? And I go back to all skin folk and kinfolk. And what Mr. Hill, you were just talking about as well previously. This was done as the Super Bowl was going on. There was a lot of money and investments being made into Atlanta. This was bad publicity on her behalf if she succumbed to this. And you know, it's crazy that this was at a town hall meeting. This is where this should have taken place. This is what should have happened at a town hall meeting. This is the place for you to have a peaceful disruption at a town hall meeting. Where else can we discuss these kind of issues? And you're running people out. What is that saying about you? What is that saying about how you feel about your people? Go ahead, Mr. Hill. I'm sorry.
Let me say something. This town hall meeting, it was a peaceful protest, and like I said, she scared of this town. Spurs, the town hall meeting was scheduled for a C.T. Martin Recreation Center, but she canceled it, and it took a lot of air out of it. And then she changed it after she went to talking about fixing potholes in Cascade Methodist Church. She had a strategy, and after she talking about, fixing potholes in Cascade. So when she fixed the pothole, that's when she changed the meet to Cascade Methodist Church. You know, like I said, she came and met with us a day before this town hall meeting was scheduled, but we were scheduled to meet Chief Shields, and along with Georgia, our attorney Tanya Miller, Georgia State President Gerald Griggs. We were waiting to meet Chief Shields and up pop Keisha Bottom. You know, with a fake 2 months after my son was murdered, with a not so heartfelt, you know, condolences. And we knew it wasn't real. We knew it had to be something to it. And like I said, with the day before the town hall meeting, in which she knew we were coming, peaceful protest. If you can really just see, after we interrupted the town hall meeting, a lot of elderly people stood up and started clapping for us. Because we were people. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. They didn't even know about my son being murdered. That's how good she had the news suppressed.
And that's what people don't understand. Peaceful, nonviolent disruptions is what gets attention and is what informs people because of the fact that we have so many news deserts. It's why independent media is important. Without getting the information out via social media, and without people coming and showing up to events like this is local meetings. These are the places that you want to be to show representation. This is what representation looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what community looks like. People standing up saying, I am Jimmy Atchison. People standing up and saying, this could have happened to me too. This is important.
You know, and I got to say, I want to say something. I couldn't understand that how, you know, my son's mother, Cynthia, you know, for all women out there, her peace was stolen. How do you think a person, you don't carry a child 9 long months, nurtured it, bathed it, fed it, and want to protect it, and all of a sudden your peace is just snatched away from you? You know, that'll take and what I couldn't understand why Keisha Bottom acted in the manner in which she acted was because, you know, her nephew had got murdered in Atlanta by 2 young black men a couple of years before that, and she tore the whole city up looking for the killers.
Mm-hmm.
She spoke out. She spoke, and my condolences to George Floyd. She spoke out about the injustice that was done to George Floyd. But what about her own backyard? And she continued to ignore the killing of my son, Jimmy Atchison. There was also another young man, David Griffith, was murdered the same within 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. So, you know, it's like she chose the Super Bowl over my son. You know, the Super Bowl meant more than my son.
Oh yeah.
Atlanta city officials, county commissioners. You know, it was like Atlanta seems to be about a city or about relationships to where they cover each other back. And, you know, and it's like a lot of corruptness, and it needs to be broken. It's like when Keisha Bottom, when she became quiet and silent, everybody became We couldn't get no help. We couldn't no support. We went to city council meeting. We went to county commissioner meeting. And you know, the help just wasn't there. It's like I went to several churches, some of the top black pastors in Atlanta, black leadership. When nobody supported us, but they end up Richard Rose and Gerald Griggs of the NAACP as far as top organizations. All these black organizations, from 100 black men to many of these other organizations, not one of them has stood with us. Not one of us had spoke out against this injustice. Black entertainment. We have my son with an upcoming rapper. Ain't not one person from the entertainment supported us. Like I say, I'm out here with a lot of other families, and when you look at the pain and the emptiness in their eyes, but you know, it's still a warrior like mentality. No, they gotta keep going. You know, it should tell anybody up.
Yeah.
So my question for everybody is, how can anybody feel comfortable after hearing the voices of pain and the cries for help from my son family and from these other families? How can you sleep at night knowing that this injustice that have been done to my son and many of these other families? My son Ken should be locked up, and he should be indicted and convicted and charged with murder. Yeah, son Ken, a 26-year veteran who violated my son Jimmy Atchison human rights and his civil rights, who violated APD policies and FBI policies, who executed my son, who lied, who refused to call SWAT when he was supposed to call SWAT. And I want to mention this to you. 22 days later, after my son was murdered, a white dentist in Brookhaven, Georgia, you know, that's in Buckhead, the heart of Buckhead, had a 10-hour standoff with police. Proper procedure was used. SWAT was called. They sent in tear gas. They sent in flashbang. They sent in a robot. They went in a small room like my son, and he had a room full of guns. And they had a tussle, and they brought him out without a scratch. They didn't give my son a chance to not even say a prayer for God, and they brought him out in a body bag.
Have you submitted a right to know request?
You said what now?
Have you submitted a right to know request?
Have I submitted?
Yeah.
What type of request?
Right to know request. Meg is wanting to know. She's got a little bit of internet connection issues, but she's big on investigative reporting. That's what she does, and that's one of the things she likes to know right off the bat is if any family members of people that have been executed by police forces have filed a right to know request so that they can get full disclosure of what took place, autopsy, play-by-play of information, everything. And a lot of times what we find is that families aren't getting all the information that they're supposed to, but when a random stranger from clear across the country asks for the same thing and asks in the same manner, they just give it up all willy-nilly like it's nothing. So if that is the case, we can look into that.
Okay, well, you know, our attorney Tanya Miller, we just used to let her deal with something. I just try to get our hand and just along with his aunt and just try to keep you know, keep, you know, because they want you to remain silent and stuff like in situations like that, you can't remain silent. So just keep trying to just fight. And you know, I just had a recent interview by CNN. Huh?
Is there any body camera footage?
You swear now?
Body camera footage. Is there any body camera footage?
No, and see, that's another policy that the AMO task force they don't allow you to wear body camera.
Right, because they're a separate unit from the Atlanta Police Department. Right.
But he violated Atlanta Police Department policy because you're supposed to wear your body camera at all times, and so it was a big thing about it. So because of you know, now you know, they make it known that all Atlanta police officers must wear body cam, and they took Atlanta police off federal task forces. Atlanta police were taking off all task forces.
Have they?
So you know, that we'll try to help somebody. You know, it ain't helping my son, but at least to try to help someone.
Right.
You know, and like I said, I try to get it all in, and like I said, you know, This was wrong. This was wrong. There was injustice. This was wrong. And they said the officer said the light was well lit. They brought in a top expert engineer, Tom Burtness, and he said the lighting was excellent in the room. It was bright in the room, so there was no excuse for him to murder my son unless he wanted to murder him. Son Kim, when he set out that morning, he wanted to murder my son. And according to Christian Boone, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who investigated this officer, a writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Son Kim, who I would have been known, who had a history of over aggression. In one occasion, he shot at approaching Rottweilers 8 times after he was commanded to stop by fellow officers, and because they were in line of fire, and several officers got hit by bits of shrapnel, and they made complaints. And in another occasion, he entered a funeral home looking for a suspect, and he, without identifying himself, he put pistols in the faces of guests at the funeral home looking for the suspect. And all this is in black and white, according to Christian Boone of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So y'all would have been known for his overly aggressiveness.
Let me finish this clip. I want to hear what this brother has to say, and then I got a couple more questions for you.
Man, my brother. I'm here today.
Oh, come on.
We are being escorted out the church.
Yeah.
And
my name is Phase One. I'm here today. Tell the rappers, tell the hip hop artists, we gotta stop making music about killing each other.
Talk about it.
Because they're gonna continue to do that.
They'll
continue to kill us. Right now is the time for y'all to stand up. If you're making music, hip hop, whether you signed or unsigned, stop making music about killing us. It's not cool, and it's not a happy situation when you're dealing with people who are actually being murdered. Cold blood. He was killed by one of your acting officers. Or this city, you're not lawful. Unlawful acting officers. Murder.
Jimmy Atchison, say his name. Jimmy Atchison, y'all. I'm going to put the link to that video for anyone that wants to watch and get more context on what the video is about. Check it out. It's in the comments. And this is more information. That's the Atlanta FBI field office. And then this is how to get help, hate crimes. More information on how you can actually help with getting some justice for Jimmy, but also holding the people responsible accountable. That is what we do here, and that is what is important. Not only does Jimmy deserve justice, but it's just important. We need to make sure that we're holding these people accountable at every single turn. Thank you. I'm guessing that's Meg that posted this. Thank you. Yo, shout out to Sino. Shout out to Sino out there, brother out there doing his thing. And another powerful king. We got to have you on the show real soon to talk about some good stuff as well. So there's a Atlanta police officer Sung Kim under investigation for federally shooting an unarmed man while assigned to a federal fugitive task force had received previous complaints for alleged carelessness or overzealous behavior while serving arrest warrants, just as you said, Mr. Hill. Still, 2 cases stand out. The first occurred in 1999 while executing a search warrant for illegal narcotics. Another officer on the scene said Kim shot 8 times at an approaching Rottweiler, just as you said, and Kim kept firing despite being ordered to stop, adding that he was in Kim's line of fire at the time hit by 3 bits of shrapnel. Right. So we'll do, Sino, if you check the Facebook chat, the YouTube chat, they're in the comments on YouTube. And Meg, if you have a chance, you can link them to Facebook. That would be great. With this case, I guess Chaz is one of our other correspondents. Chaz is asking about the grand jury. I'm not exactly sure what he's getting at, asking when it comes to the police officer or what.
Now, have they presented a case to the grand jury? I think that's the question that he's asking. John Tell, if you can hear me.
Right. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Hill, can you hear me?
Okay, what you said now?
Has the
Have
case
they
been
presented? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Have they presented the case, like the evidence that they have to the grand jury at Mr. Hill as far as what happened with Jimmy that day?
No, Fulton County, that's the delay. You know, the case had been closed. It's still, ever since Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis, after when grand jury resumed, she won the election, and she continues to somehow just continue to put this case. You know, she states she's pro-police, and we need her to be pro-justice. And you have to remember that she received a large amount of money during her campaign from the police union, who would look for someone who want to prosecute police. So she continues to find ways to put this case off. You know, after being interviewed, we have CNN just aired an interview, and they tried to reach out to her 4 times the CNN did an interview with me last about 2 months ago, and tried to reach out to her, and she's not yet. She wouldn't answer, and other people have reached out to her, and I just recently did an interview with I think it BFM TV, the top news station, a television news station in France, and they've tried to reach out. So different amount of people have tried to reach out to her, but she hasn't come in.
Well, we will definitely follow suit. I don't know if it, with all those, note comments, maybe one of these times one of her employees will mess up and we will get a comment out of somebody. So we will definitely get on that. And if we can help you with the right to know request, they would include anything that the officer said that we could use against them potentially. And I'm sure your lawyer has already obtained all of that information. Just if you would want a copy for yourself, we could do that for you.
Okay, and then people can find more about the case by going to Georgia Moms United website, Justice for Georgia website. When you go to the Justice for Georgia website, we have a petition out, a Justice for Jimmy Atchison petition to sign, and it right now has like over 21,000 signatures. 21,000 signatures.
That is insane that there's that many signatures and they still haven't done anything.
Right.
And let me clear some up. And from Jolly the Ginger on TikTok, he put this story out. And I have to say that, and on his TikTok, and Tina Knowles Lawson, the mother of Beyonce, picked this story up and put it on her, shared this story on her TikTok, and it drew a lot of people. And so I just wanted to say thanks also to Jolly the Ginger and Tina Knowles Lawson, the mother of Beyonce.
Yes. Well, we love to hear, we'd like to share people's stories that, the mainstream media have muted. And so we thank you so much. This is crazy. So Georgia kills a lot of people. I'm looking at the website.
Georgia had a police brutality problem, and it needs to be dealt with. But Georgia, it's a lot of families. It's a lot of more families. And so you got to understand, people been fighting 8 years, 6 years, and they playing these mental games, and that's all it is, to wear and tear you down and make you want to give up. The thing that we can't give up.
We cannot.
Right. And so this is the same police department that killed Rashard Brooks, John Tell.
Yes. I figured that's, yep. I was just going to bring that up. Rashard Brooks. Yep.
So they've killed Oscar Kane Jr. Fulton County alone has Jimmy Atchison, Dietrich Griffin. We have Terrence Leslie Jr. And there's more. And this is a problem.
DeAndre Phillips.
This is where the FBI.
DeAndre Phillips, Oscar Kane. It's a lot more. Georgia had the police brutality department need to be dealt with. You have from Javis Benjamin to Jarvis Lights to Jabria Robinson to Jamarian Robinson to Vincent Truitt. He was shot 2 times in the back. Cobb County Police, and 12-year-old Linda Barkins.
What?
Linda Barkins, 12-year-old Linda Barkins, who was killed in Delaware in a pit maneuver by State Patrol. So, and there's many more names. Just ain't on my tongue right now. Brianna Grill, the young lady who had a mental breakdown, and she was killed down in Sparta, Georgia. And she was slung out the door. So, Georgia had a police brutality problem, and it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like I said, I just named a few of them, and it's a lot more. It's a lot more. It's a lot more names. I'm not with you, fam. There's a lot more names. And it's hard to get support unless we get support from the outside of people like y'all.
Right. Well, it's our honor, you know, to be able to spread the word and spotlight who your son truly was and is, and not who the mainstream media painted him to be. Right. That's, you know, one thing that makes us very different is that, you know, as much as we don't want to admit it, the mainstream media is connected to the government. Is, you know, whenever you get funding or anything like that, there's intertwinement, you know, between them, and they will paint pictures as quick as possible. We've had mothers that have found out about their children on the news, on the radio, you know, without even being, you know, identified yet. And so this is such a, you know, it's a problem, and it sounds like it's a really bad problem in Georgia. So we stand with you, and, you know, anything that we can do to help or, you know, aid in your fight, most definitely, we need to get an indictment for Officer King. Like, this is insane. There was 4 other officers, not one other officer shot. He was shot one time.
And I just found the paper about, thank you so much. I just found the paper. And where people can email Fannie Willis at Fannie, FANI.Willis, DA, at FultonCountyDA.gov. Did I say it too fast?
So
nope, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, it's FANI.Willis, DA, at FultonCountyDA.gov. Yeah, because the telephone number is 404-612-4981 to the district attorney office, but she's some kind of way just it sends you to another department. At first, we can be able to reach.
When's the next DA race in Alabama, sir?
When is the next what?
The next district attorney race.
To my election?
Yes.
Yeah, the next race for attorney. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about that.
We'll find out.
Her to step. Yeah, we're gonna find out. We need her to step down.
Thank you so much. We really need support. We really need support. Like I said, that's my family, and these families in Georgia, we just had a hard time. Like I said, the support system ain't really there, and most of our support it really just come from people like you at the podcast, and where we get support from like Rayshard Richard. He's been very, very supportive, and one trap pastor Slaughter and Belinda Law, 2 churches, but other than that, nobody not really just showing us no support. People like they're afraid. It's just something about police brutality that put fear in people to where they don't want to. You know, the pastors are talking behind the 4 walls, but they're not gonna come out here and support us. We haven't had that kind of support.
Right.
Well, we will bring you
like
as
I
much
said,
support and compassion. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Like I said, here we are, the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., creator of the Civil Rights Movement. And I just can't believe and that Atlanta had become one of the most selfless cities. And just being straight up, it's just too many black people in leadership positions in Atlanta to allow this to happen. The bottom line is there's too many scared black people in leadership positions, too many selfless and scared black people in leadership positions who won't support us. All thing we ever asked for was fairness and justice. Fairness, truth, and justice. That's all we ever asked for. We ain't asked for that special. Even Atlanta Mayor Andre Dixon, who said he's gonna meet with the family. I told me on 3-4 different occasions, and I had to track him down. to get him just to talk to me, and he was yet to meet with the family. And like I told him, I said, he said, well, I'm busy, Mr. Hill. And I said, he's out, I'm busy. I said, yeah, but in 3 days you took care of concerns and the needs in Buckhead. But what about the other communities and places like Bankhead? So it's like when it comes to lower income black men in Atlanta, lower income black people, like Atlanta, just the bottom line is Atlanta just don't give a damn. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is whenever the FBI needs to come in and look at all their files, because I've seen a lot of inconsistency and patterns by just looking at that website.
Yeah.
Like as far as like them killing young black men in your county. And that is insane. It's disheartening. And nobody deserved it. They all deserve to live, and they all have stories and families and loved ones. And that's why we do what we do. We have uncomfortable conversations, to talk about these things, because if we don't bring light to it, no one else will. And these are the things that are happening every single day right in front of our faces.
I thank you so much. It means so much. It means more than you can imagine. It means so much.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for being on Freedom for All. Sorry about the technical difficulties I was having. I'm not sure why my Wi-Fi is acting super wonky.
That's cool. That's cool. I just thank y'all for having me.
Of course. Well,
I
it's all about
really appreciate
building
y'all.
You're very welcome. All right, guys. Well, we have made it through another episode of Freedom for All. I thank you so much. I appreciate you for driving this bus. Jimmy,
Meg,
thank you for joining us.
You start breaking up a little bit again. If you want me to close, I have no problem closing. This is what we do, and this is what community looks like, right?
Yes, Chantel, I love you. So yeah, I'll let you go ahead and close, because this internet hates me tonight.
I see that. It's no problem. I love you too, Meg, and I appreciate it because Meg does amazing work. And Mr. Hill, we really do thank you for taking your time and your energy to be able to share your testimony with us. It is important that people do hear more stories such as this. And for the viewers, we hope that you took something out of this and applied it to your own life, and know that this can be you too. This could be your brother, your sister, your niece, your nephew, anyone that this could happen to you. So be vigilant, do your part, share this stream, reach out to the resources that we provided for you to make sure that you can do something about this. Do your part. It's important. As always, y'all, thank you for rocking with us on the path. We meditate to keep being, we celebrate, for in spirit we liberate, so we may educate, because to guide we must educate. It's been a pleasure, y'all. Hope you enjoyed, were entertained, and educated. Have a great night.